we've created really quite a small, intimate, almost jewel-like room for Scotland and France.
He's really kind of artist in residence, I think, and kind of walking around with his painting kit and watching the crowds and looking at the way people move around in group together and so on. And that's the theatre of it is so interesting. Spatial management is so interesting.
Yeah, and cinematic.
Yes, absolutely. It's very much that. Everything from the curry cook's assistant to the Dutch cocoa house.
Yeah, and the cigar divan or whatever it is
absolutely.
at the end.
Well, that is a stunning picture.
Yeah,
absolutely wonderful. I mean, look at the composition. Look at how dramatic those boxes of cigars are placed on that table. All so casual, but it's wonderfully composed.
This is such a change of moment when you come into
it is indeed. And of course, around the corner is one of the great moments in Lavery's life, really, which is the paintings of the Bridget Grey.
We're just so delighted that we have both the early and the late view. To understand one, you almost have to see them together.
You do indeed. And they give you that profound sense of someone living through time, maturing, and in the second version, painting a wonderful impressionist picture. Whereas before, the equally wonderful early naturalism is much more sort of precise and studied, as it were. There's a great kind of spontaneity that comes into Lavery's work around 1900. I think the role of memory in painting is a fascinating subject in itself. There is that kind of urge that we all have, and you understand, you want to go back and not quite relive, but see if it is the same as you remember.
It's such a deep instinct.
It is, absolutely. And I think that's what happens here, really. Many of the things that we see here, and which you've beautifully arranged on this wall, are works from Tangier.
Yeah, and it is the presence of this room. There was a sort of initial thought of grouping all the Tangier paintings together, and I started thinking of that, but then, in a sense, he was always moving, so it wasn't as if there was a distinct boundary.
The first sequence of pictures which he produces in Tangier are almost mapping the territory. And I think that's especially the case with the little rooftop scene from his hotel.
Yeah.
You know, that's the sort of instinct coming forward. I'll go up to the roof and I'll see exactly where I am and map it out. And so you have the tower of the Green Mosque punctuating the horizon line. He's wanting somewhere as a winter retreat. And Tangier takes on a totally different flavor, really. We get wonderful scenes of the sea from his hilltop house, looking up the coast to Gibraltar and looking straight across to the coast of Spain in those later ones, and it is the most marvelous sequence. You see him not only wintering every year in Tangier, but he is also kind of looking around still. It's not as if he has suddenly shut off what the city is doing. And the wonderful Night Tangier is a marvelous painting, really. It's a kind of Whistlerian nocturne looking out on the straits, but over one of the districts of the city. Same time, of course, socializing in the British legation in Tangier. It had a checkered history throughout the years when Lavery was going there. This is the great portrait of the period, and it shows Lavery with his beloved daughter Eileen. It started in 1897, so it's a 3-year period from start to finish that you're looking at. When this came into the Paris exhibition in 1900, it was acquired by the French government, and it is wonderful to see it here in Belfast.
It is.
This is the first sort of major portrait of
This is her
Eileen.
debut.
Yes, absolutely, very much so.
Well,
yeah,
perfect.
No, I love it. She is very striking figure, and one who appears in numerous paintings. Her background is that she was starting to model for artists in Berlin. I mean, she was German. And one day, Lavery was introduced to her by one of his artist friends, Nevin Dumont, in Berlin. And that started a friendship that went on throughout the rest of his life. Mary Orras, I think, is really rather wonderful. We don't know a great deal about her. There are very few surviving letters. Certainly from the kind of panoply of images of her, you form the view of a very kind of strong and rather wonderful character.
Yeah. Well, the third room is a completely different mood again, because in a sense the war intervenes and everything changes.
Yes, he is very much confined to base, except for one brief interlude. 1915, 1916, 1917, he's very much London and home counties based. And we see that sense of tension, I think, beautifully represented in the painting that's in front of us at the moment, which is called the Daylight Raid. And when you look at it at first, you think to yourself, oh, well, it's just a woman looking out of the window in the artist's studio in Cromwell Place. But in fact, when you get close to it, you see what's going on in the sky.
Exactly.
It's a dogfight between German Gotha planes, who had now been able, with improved engines, to reach North London and drop bombs. Yeah. And so there was great fear in the summer of 1917 that London was going to be sort of seriously attacked from the air. Within weeks, he was appointed as an official war artist.
Right.
And immediately he's jumping in the car, and we're talking cars now at this point, and traveling out to Hendon to paint the British fighters taking off. In the summer of 1919, he set off for northern France to circulate around these places. Yeah. And of course, he had to visit the huge temporary cemetery at Etaples. And I love this thing. I think it is just so poignant.
It is.
Because what you see are obviously rows of temporary wooden crosses that were later replaced. And you're stretching out towards the coast. And I love the idea that while he's doing this, a little train puffs by, and people are traveling up the coast again in relative safety and comfort, which they couldn't do before. And that goes into the picture as well. Yes. Which is fascinating.
It is. Yeah. It is such a sense of time, movement of time, which you don't expect in these cemetery paintings, because you expect the stillness.
Paintings like this reach out. They affect
in
generations
a way you
to
cannot
come.
predict.
No, absolutely.